Hey everyone, Tim here from SnapAttack. In this week's snapshot, we're going to be talking about a recent alert put out by CISA. So this security alert details the top vulnerabilities that are actively exploited by the People's Republic of China. So this is a group of state-sponsored actors, and the vulnerabilities that are detailed here, again, as we kind of take a look at this list, these are all high-impact, critical vulnerabilities. Most of the time, these are going to be unauthenticated. You can see the vulnerability type for most of these as remote code execution or command injection. So if these servers are available on the internet or an external facing system, it is trivial for an attacker to use these exploits and gain a foothold into your network. You can see here a lot of these, even that Citrix ADC one dating back to 2019. These are things that likely should already be patched in your organization. However, the fact that these are still being widely exploited and widely used is part of the reason why this alert is out there in the first place. So bottom line is, again, patch your servers, patch your software, stay up to date. But if for some reason that's not available, this is where SnapAttack can help. And we'll talk through this, especially if this were, a more recent emerging threat. So earlier this month, we released the collections feature. Really been pushing that. We can take a look here. We have a collection around these top exploited CVEs. So we can read a little bit more about this. We can see the CVEs detailed here on this page. We could see related intelligence, that link above. We can see some of the different threats that have captured in our threat library if we wanted to learn more. And we also have detections here for all of these that you can deploy confidently to your integrations with a click of a button. We're actually going to look at one of these specific threats here. This one hasn't been seen before in a snapshot. I actually put this together earlier this year. You can see back in May. So this was a Microsoft SharePoint remote code execution vulnerability. So this one was fun. It was actually using some serialized types. Again, you can see the YSO serial tool was used to create a payload with a type confusion vulnerability. And again, you would upload a file and then you would have it reference that with this specific URL where that was vulnerable, which would trigger a deserialization bug. Also new here in this latest release, you can see some of the recommended detections. So again, we take all the detections that we know will hit on this specific threat, and we can help prioritize and rank those as which ones are best for your environment. Anyways, if we want to take a little bit closer look at this attack, so we've got a Windows machine here that's running SharePoint. We've got another attacker here. This one just happens to be Windows. Can watch the full video. I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit, but you have SharePoint. We're using InfoPath to actually kind of create the new form, and that is a very specific piece of this, just the way that legacy InfoPath software would create that. You can actually upload and attach that file, and you're going to see here for a sec we're going to use YSO serial, which again I guess is a Windows binary, which is why we have the Windows attacker here. It's going to create that that serialized payload here to trigger that vulnerability. We'll upload that to the server through a couple of steps. We'll attach that file, and then I have Burp Suite up here where it's actually going to reference that file, and once we know that ID, we can plug that into that other URL, that chart type, and you'll see we can push that into the URL here, and that's actually going to trigger spawning that cmd.exe. So if we actually hopped over to the Windows machine, we do have, again, I've got Process Explorer up here. You can see W3WP, so that's IIS, the web server, and you can see cmd.exe is spawning under there as a child process. So exploit worked. Again, use your imagination if you wanted to spawn something other than CMD, whether that's Cobalt Strike Beacon or some other malware. If we wanted to take a look at this, obviously we do have detections here in SnapAttack. Some of these, that you would look at are looking for the parent-child relationship between a web server, like again W3WP, IIS. You could also extend that to Apache Tomcat. You could extend that to Apache HTTPD. Any sort of web server. Again, should they be spawning CMDs and PowerShells, other processes, things of that nature, especially if those are rare. One thing I do want to kind of highlight, because we always talk about existing detections, SnapAttack really makes it easy to do your detection engineering and detection as code. So Taking a look at this session on the process graph, again, we can see our host activity, we can see W3WP, and it's spawning that CMD. So we see here that this particular event was labeled malicious. It has that red star. We can bring this over to our detection builder. So we're going to see here on the right-hand side the actual log file, and we can build this. So this is going to target an EDR process creation. So we can say, all right, W3WP, we want that to be our main parent process name. And if it spawns cmd.exe or it spawns, we'll say PowerShell.exe. And again, you can use your own creativity here on what sort of processes you want. If you want to include command line or other sort of interesting things, maybe you want to say if it's running at a higher system integrity level, looking for evidence of exploitation and privilege escalation that way. So you can construct your rule with a couple clicks of a button. You can see here this is also being translated in real time as I add different fields here. This one here is into our Splunk syntax, but I could translate that to many of our integrations. So if I am a SentinelOne customer, I can translate that here to the SentinelOne query language. I can one-click launch this in SentinelOne's environment. I can publish our detection, and then I can confidently deploy that. So just another opportunity here. If you guys have detection engineering teams, you're looking to build out and manage your detection workflow, definitely consider SnapAttack. So anyways, that ends this week's Threat Snapshot. We'll keep this one a little bit shorter. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next week.